Good morning, coming to you not quite live, but from Admiralty Point Trail in Port Moody. And it's been a few weeks now since I've watched the Avengers movie. You know, this is a good time for me to voice my opinion on the whole movie. Specifically, the motivation behind Thanos, why he's gathering all the Infinity Stones and all that. It just doesn't convince me as much, because if you think about it, in the movie, he said that he wanted to get rid of half of the universe so that there could be balance. But the problem with the whole idea of, you know, getting rid of half the population so the other half could survive, I mean, really, even if you do that, you're still just prolonging the inevitable of, you know, running out of resources and all that jazz. It's not an original idea. You read Dan Brown's book. Which one was that again? Infernal, that's the one, where the mad, biochemist came up with a retrovirus that will make 1/3 of the human population infertile. That's sort of the same idea. But in that context, it makes more sense because in the context of that movie or in the context of that world, humanity is still sort of where we are today. We're trapped on this little blue planet with nowhere else to go. So it makes sense that in this setting, if you get rid of 1/3 of human population, yes, we could prolong the time when we run out of resources, and maybe before then we'll come up with interstellar travel and expand the reaches of our ability to gather more resources for our survival. So that part makes sense. But in the context of Avengers, now all of a sudden you're no longer bound by being trapped on one planet or one solar system or one galaxy, right? Because now you have spaceships, you can go all kinds of places. And yet Thanos' idea of being able to save the entire world is to kill half of the population. I mean, you're still gonna run out of resources at some point. And for somebody who's supposedly a mad titan who is, intellectually superior to most beings, that to me just seems like a really useless, like a ridiculous solution to the problem with the whole Marvel universe. The idea was introduced really by Doctor Strange, where magic is just a form of science we don't yet understand. So we have to accept then that in this setting, in this universe, there is physical laws in place that are very similar to ours, and they're just extensions and built upon our understanding of the world. And if that is the case, based on my sort of very rudimentary understanding of astrophysics, the universe is infinite. So if the universe is infinite, then it should also follow that we have a near limitless supply of energy at our disposal, and mass is just a form of energy. So this whole, if the Marvel universe, the science and the magic and all that are just extensions of our understanding of the physical laws, then, or why can't Thanos just say, okay, so with all the Infinity Stones, I'll just say now we can harness any energy we want, and voila, problem solved, right? Killing half the universe, I mean, you're still dealing with constraint, you're still dealing with basic economics, how to distribute scarce resources among unlimited needs. And just because you got rid of half the universe doesn't mean that the population isn't going to expand, and we're in the cycle again. When I was watching that movie, that was what irked me the most. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I agree with you, but I think it's less so a flaw with the movie itself. We can attribute it as a flaw with Thanos' thought process. I think they're trying to set up Thanos as this tragic being where he failed originally, and then he's obsessed with the idea of killing off half the planet, half the population of the world.
And by the way, say hi, Matt.
Oh, hi.
You're supposed to say hi, Matt.
Oh, hi,
it
Matt.
sort of builds your character as somebody who is a little bit quirky.
I wasn't given that script yet.
Okay. But so you're saying that what, Thanos' character is flawed?
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. He's just obsessed with the idea of half and balance.
But doesn't that sort of take away his supposed intellect?
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but he's more emotional than intellect, I think, is my impression from the Avengers.
When was the first time he showed up? In the middle of the first Avengers? And back then he was maniacal and just like sitting in his lazy boy and acting all superior and all that crap, right?
Yeah.
And then now, from then, you have When was it? And then the next time we saw him was one of the post-credit stingers where he put on the gauntlet and then said, well, you need something to done, do it yourself. So everything up to that point was basically him being this ridiculously crazy being.
Driven, I think is a word I used to describe him. He's driven by the idea. Because he saw his home planet pretty much get decimated because he didn't do anything. So it's less so I'm doing this to save the world, I'm doing this to kind of fix whatever trauma I had in my own mind of what happened.
Because when he said that he couldn't save the world, it was because his world rejected his idea of killing off half the population.
Exactly, yeah.
So from the very beginning, he thought, well, if we kill off half the people, voila, we'll all live in utopia.
Because he was in a planet where I'm guessing space travel was limited. Otherwise, I completely agree with you.
But now that, even though he has the ability to travel in space and all that, he doesn't want to revise his hypothesis. Doesn't seem very scientific to me.
I agree with you completely, but we're assuming that Thanos is supposed to be scientific and intelligent, which I think in the Marvel Universe we can kind of say no, or at least in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So even though some people still cheer for him, he's actually just a big dummy.
I'm okay with that interpretation of him, sure. A very powerful dummy, mind you, but a dummy nevertheless.
So in terms of the intellect scale, there's the Hulk.
Just for once in your life, don't smash! Big monster!
And then he's like, you know, two scales above him, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I will bathe the Starways in your blood.
Well, there you go, folks. That's how we define Thanos. That was basically my gripe with the movie. It's the motivation behind the villain. Granted, this motivation is a lot more convincing than all the other ones who just want to destroy the world and go and rule the universe. This one here actually says he's doing it for a higher purpose. So, you know, it's a step up, but it's still not offering me something that I went, oh wow, this is actually something truly amazing.
I think this year Marvel's stepping up their villain game. That was one of the most common complaints about Marvel before this.
Yeah, there was basically just a bunch of, you know, tradable villains here and there where you replace one actor with the other and then call it a day.
Although Red Skull showed up. Things any worse, that was a nice cameo.
Because I don't know how else you would portray Mistress Death. I mean, don't get me wrong, a hot body is fine, but with just the skull as a face, doesn't do it for me. Yeah.
Well, if only they didn't kill off, what's her name? Hera, I want to say? From Ragnarok?
Do you think she's dead?
I think so. I don't know, though.
Because we never actually see her sort of, you know, demise, right?
But she would be a good death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she's hot, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry. And here we are back again, probably turning into one of our most favorite watering holes. So there you go, parallel 49. And of course, no meal is complete without dessert. So here we are, Rain or Shine ice cream, one of the best ice creams you can get in Vancouver.